Britain is being taxed by the mile, tracked through data, and lectured on net zero by the same people who flew halfway across the world to preach about emissions. Welcome to Friday Unfiltered. And we start off with another week, another showcase of how this country is run by people who couldn't coordinate a raffle at a village fete. At COP30 in Brazil, Keir Starmer stood on stage promising climate leadership while jets roared overhead and rainforest was bulldozed to build the access roads. Back home, Reeves floated a pay-per-mile tax on drivers. HMP Wandsworth somehow lost again to prisoners. Whitehall quietly activated new data sharing powers, and 18 months after Labour's victory, trust in Starmer is sinking faster than energy bills are rising. So tonight, 5 headlines: the real cost of net zero, Reeves' stealth tax on drivers, the shambles inside our justice system, the expanding data state, and why Labour's change feels exactly like the Tories we thought we'd buried.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
So first up, Starmer's COP30 pledge, all in on net zero. That's right, he's been stood there at COP30, proudly declared Britain as all in on net zero. Translation: higher bills, deeper taxes, and more regulation dressed up as virtue. While he preached climate unity, his team flew to Brazil in convoys of jets to tell Britons to ditch their cars and eat less meat. The green deals he announced, mostly letters of intent with no cash until 2028. It's performance politics, photo ops for the elite, and price tags for the public. Britain emits under 1% of global CO2, yet pays 100% of the penance. Steel jobs in Port Talbot vanish, farmers face carbon audits, and our energy grid buckles under the push for renewables without storage. Meanwhile, China and India enjoy developing nation exemptions and build coal plants by the week. If this is climate leadership, why does it always seem Britain pays first while polluters profit later? Here's the truth no one at COP said out loud. Net zero isn't about saving the planet. It's about reshaping economies through investment funds and carbon markets. If Downing Street wants trust, publish the per household cost, show who profits from the carbon credits, and prove when bills fall. Until then, it's a sermon paid for by your direct debit. And leading into that, we have Reeves' pay-per-mile EV tax. The Treasury's latest cash grab is a 3p per mile charge for electric vehicle drivers. On top of road tax and insurance, the average driver adds £250 a year to their cost. And remember the pitch? EVs were supposed to be cheaper. Now it's incentivize, then monetize. Reeves says everyone must contribute. Translation: we need your money because we've blown it all. But this isn't just a tax, it's a data pipeline. Modern cars log every journey. Tie that to HMRC and the state has a map of your life, where you go, how fast and how often. They call it fairness. I call it digital control. Once the system exists, it won't stop at EVs. Next come location-based charges, time of day pricing, and penalties for entering congestion zones that weren't there yesterday. If Reeves was honest, she'd ring-fence the revenue for road repairs and publish a privacy charter. But she won't, because this is about tracking behaviour, not fixing potholes. Drivers who went green in good faith are the new cash cow. And the irony? EV charging is already more expensive than petrol for many families. Welcome to the future, clean, cashless, and constantly monitored. Next up, the absolute chaos at Wandsworth. That's right, HMP Wandsworth, Britain's most famous revolving door. 2 inmates released by mistake in 1 week. One handed himself in, the other is still missing. Police weren't informed for days. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the justice system in 2025. Paper files, fax machines and shortages so service officers cover 3 shifts straight. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Justice burns millions on digital transformation, consultants who've never set foot in a prison. Mistaken releases have doubled in a year under Labour. That's not bad luck, that's rot. And every time it happens, we get the same script. A minister takes it seriously, orders a review, and absolutely nothing changes. This goes beyond embarrassment. It's public safety. If the state can't manage a locked door, how can it possibly manage national security or border control, which we already know we have none of? Solutions exist: digital custody logs with biometric sign-off, live databases shared with the police, and actual accountability for management failures. Instead, we get excuses and paper clipboards. You couldn't run a corner shop like this, yet these people run prisons like it. And of course, the digital control that does come will be for us, not for actual criminals. And that brings us nicely onto the Data Act power grab. That's right. The Data Use and Access Act 2025 sounds harmless, doesn't it? I've spoken endlessly about it. Smart data, digital verification, but inside is a charter for cross-department data sharing that no one voted for. Phase 2 activates on the 17th of November, expanding how your personal information can be used across energy, finance, health and transport, all in the name of efficiency. And as I keep bleating on about, the problem is oversight or complete lack of it. Departments can access data via public interest without a judge or parliamentary approval. Once these links exist, they rarely close. Combine that with digital ID plans, cashless payments, and AI-based monitoring, and you have the infrastructure for a society run by algorithms, one we already see in China. We're told to trust safeguards, but this is the same state that lost COVID contracts, leaked DVLA data, and mishandled HMRC records. They don't need more data. What they actually need is some competence. Technology should simplify life, not centralise power. Until there's independent public audit of every DUAA scheme, then you need to assume that the default setting is surveillance. And that moves us nicely onto Labour's broken promises. It's been over 18 months since Labour took office, and the mask is completely off. They said no new taxes. We've had council tax revelations, frozen inheritance thresholds, energy levies ridden in bills, and now Reeves pay per mile scheme, with more tax rises to come. They said secure borders, illegal entries still around 2,000 a week, plus new hotel contracts signed in silence. They said fix the NHS. Waiting lists, however, near 8 million, GP appointments scarce, and staff striking again. They said growth and change. The economy's flat, business confidence down, and Whitehall flatter than ever. This is not renewal. It's managed decline with better branding. 18 months in, Starmer, Miliband and the rest govern through committees and press releases, while real Britain drowns in debt and bureaucracy, something they do every time they're in power. Polls show trust in Labour has dropped 10 points since their honeymoon period. Working class men and young voters feel betrayed. They thought Starmer was the grown-up option. Turns out it's just the same machine with a completely new logo. But who knew? Well, some of us did warn you. Britain deserves competence, not PR, delivery, not declarations. Until we get it, this two-party pantomime will keep playing, and we'll keep paying for tickets we never asked to buy. So this week completely sums up Britain in 2025. Virtue abroad, failure at home. We lecture the world on climate while crippling our own industries. We tax drivers by the mile, lose criminals by the week, and collect data by the ton, all in the name of progress. If Starmer wants service, start by serving the people paying for it. If Reeves wants fair contribution, make government accountable for its own waste first. 18 months on, Labour looks less like a fresh start and more like a continuation of the same establishment cycle. Look, I'm going to put it bluntly, it's about time people started paying attention to what's actually going on. 20 million people didn't vote in the last general election. And you need to start realising one simple fact. You are not voting for who you want in power anymore. You are voting to get the establishment out. But there are still many in the country who don't understand what it is. They think Nigel Farage is part of the establishment because he has private business interests. That is not the establishment. The establishment is 21,000 Labour, Tory and Lib Dem councillors. It's over 600 Labour, Tory and Lib Dem MPs. It's 300 years of those three parties running this country. In the Lords, in the civil service, in the councils. It's the lobbyists, the quangos that they have all infiltrated. It is a machine. The Fabian Society, the 1922 Committee, they are the establishment, not a 6-year-old party led by a man that has done nothing but clap back against the establishment for his entire career. When you start waking up to that reality, maybe you'll start voting for people that aren't ruining your life. This is Friday Unfiltered. I'm Bruce Unfiltered. Thank you very much for watching. Stay sharp, stay independent, and I'll see you next week for another deep dive.